Now, the open question tonight is, will that work as a strategy? We still have Ford O'Connell with us, and we're joined now as well by Jeff DeWit, who's a Donald J. Trump Re-election Advisory Board member and happens also to be the Arizona State Treasurer. So, Jeff, welcome to you. It's interesting. We heard from a lot of people on this today. I'm going to play one that I think Jeff makes the point, because this comment came before the deal was cut. So you get the true feeling, in my view, on it, because the Speaker of the House didn't know that the president of his own party was about to cut a deal with Schumer and Pelosi from the Democrats. He knew what they were proposing, and Paul Ryan said this. Watch.
I think that's ridiculous and disgraceful that they want to play politics with the debt ceiling at this moment when we have fellow citizens in need to respond to these hurricanes so that we do not strand them.
All right, Jeff, so the they was Schumer and Pelosi, but the president cut that deal for the Harvey funding. Your thoughts?
Well, this president has stated many times that he wants to get things done. So Congress is not used to this. They're not used to getting things done. They're used to kicking the can down the road and then coming up with the best talking points to blame the other side. They've been doing that for decades. And so I think, yeah, Washington, D.C. is very shocked by this. But Mitch McConnell has said that he's going to enforce the 60-vote rule in the Senate. We have 52 Republicans. The only way you get to 60 is if you bring in some Democrats. And we do have a deal maker in chief that wants to get things done. So he's not going to let Congress kick the can down the road, and he's looking to get it done. That's what he's doing. He's bringing the other side into the room so we can get past the 60-vote limit and get these things passed.
Now, to the analogy, Ford, of kicking the can down the road, this does only kick it to the 15th of December, right, where we'll have to work something else out. And as I said, the White House is basically saying, hey, we don't want any distractions on tax reform. We get this out of the way, we can move forward with that. Whereas looking at Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer on the couch from earlier today, I'm sure their argument is, at least internally, they have leverage over the president in December. What do you think?
Well, look, there's no question about it that Donald Trump wants to clear the slate for tax reform. That was his #1 campaign promise. But let's also be honest, Connell, there's also the optics and the backdrop of Harvey. He wanted to get this through so he didn't look like he was divisive. And we know that, yes, you did kick the can down the road, probably to December 15th, right before the Christmas holiday. But we also know that Congress only acts when you have a hard deadline and a legislative gun to their head. And frankly, I think this was a smart move. I agree that, personally, I would love to have had a debt ceiling for 6 months. But we know we're going to have this argument again, and that's a time when Donald Trump actually has more leverage in terms of shutting down the government. The hurricane was what nobody factored into this equation, and frankly, Donald Trump did what was best. Unlike Paul Ryan, he's the president of the United States.
His theory works in, Jeff, go to you first, then Ford, that the odds now of getting your agenda through, in particular tax reform, that's what we're really talking about here tonight, is more likely because he cut this deal. You believe that, Jeff?
I do. I think it's very much correct. And I agree with Ford that, look, I'm very concerned about the $20 trillion in debt and the fact that Congress never seems to pay attention to the debt limit. But one of the times that we don't need the government shut down is when we just had a hurricane hit Texas and we have another hurricane bearing down on Florida. So I think, to get a little extension on that, to get past that, look, the president did give himself much, much higher odds that tax reform will get through. He did trust Republicans, and I'm a lifelong Republican as I say this, to get the Obamacare repeal done. It didn't get through.
Get it done, right.
So he is now stepping in. He's going to work his magic.
That's not a bad point.
Yeah, he's going to get it done.
No, and to Jeff's point, I think that you're going to get tax reform, or at least significant middle-class tax cuts done by the early part of next year, because essentially there's a lot of other items on this agenda, but Donald Trump is playing the long game, and he's playing to win on his most significant campaign issue, because his re-election hinges on the state of the economy in the fall of 2020, and he knows that.
No, he does, and if he's right on this, he'd be taking a lot of credit for it, and many in his own party would have to admit that, I would think. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.